Welcome and thank you for coming tonight. Here we're back at the Barbara Lee Senior Center, and my name is Kristen Yasukawa. I'm a public information representative with the Santa Clara Valley Water District, and my role tonight will be to facilitate the meeting to make sure that we stay on time and get to all of your questions. I'd like to begin by introducing Director Richard Santos, and he's the Water District Board Member for District 3, which includes your community and the community of Milpitas. So, Director Santos, would you like to say a few remarks?
Thank you, Kristen. As I said, I'm Richard Santos, District 3, your Director of Santa Clara Valley Water District. Appreciate y'all coming. We welcome all your questions. Our staff is working real hard to meet some of your concerns over the flood project. We appreciate the participation, and we'll make it brief. Let staff go to work, and if you have any questions, I'll be out in the audience, so I'm up for it. So thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Santos. All right, so the last time that we met in January, we presented modified flood wall design options, and we heard your feedback and your suggestions and your concerns. So tonight, what we're here to do is to share what we've worked on since that meeting and what we've done with the modified designs while still meeting the project objective of providing essential flood protection to the homes, schools, and businesses in Milpitas. So before we get started with our formal presentation, I just want to go through a few housekeeping items. So one is to review the meeting objectives. So tonight, our team is going to recap the recent activities and the project. We're going to share what we worked on since the January 30th meeting after we collected your feedback. We will inform you of the updated design and the next steps, and reinforce our commitment to ongoing communication to making sure that you're informed every step of the way. And we're committed to answering your questions here tonight. So if everybody's in agreement of those meeting objectives, if you could just raise your hand so I know that we're all in agreement on what we're here to talk about tonight. If I could just see your hands raised, please. All right, great. Looks like we are in agreement. All right, so the next item is to go through some of our ground rules that we have for our meetings. So the ground rules for conduct in this meeting is to listen. One person speaks at a time. This is to make sure all voices in the room are heard. To raise your hand when you want to speak. And during the question and answer portion, we will have, Jose will be roaming with the microphone. So just raise your hand and he will come to you when it's your turn to speak. We ask that you keep an open mind to others' perspectives. There are a lot of different opinions in the room, and we want to make sure that we get to everyone. And we want to be respectful of each other and of staff. So if everyone's in agreement for those ground rules, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand in acknowledgement again. Okay, great. All right, so now we're going to head into the formal presentation. We ask that you hold all your questions to the Q&A session, which is right after the presentation slides. This is just so we can make sure we get through all the new information we have tonight, and we'll make sure that we have a dedicated time for those questions. So now I'd like to introduce Ngoc Nguyen, and he's the Interim Deputy Operating Officer of Watersheds. You may have remembered him from last time, and he oversees this project. So, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. My name again is Ngoc Nguyen, and I'm currently the Interim Deputy Officer for Watershed Design Construction. So my division, I work with a number of staff that are responsible for designing and constructing flood protection project for the county. I just want to quickly introduce the team with me tonight. We have Jose Villarreal from our communication office, Peggy Lam in the back with communication. Kristen, she introduced herself earlier. We have Kevin Gonzalez, our assistant engineer, Johan Lee, our associate engineer, and we have James Nanitagos, our environmental planner, and then we have Carl Newman, the newest member of the team. Carl, which is recently received a promotion from associate engineer to engineering unit manager. So Carl is helping me managing a number of projects in his unit, and this is one of the projects now under Carl. So I just want to review quickly for you the map you see in front here showing Berryessa Creek flowing. Maybe I should show this way, flowing from south to north towards San Francisco Bay. The most upstream section of Berryessa Creek from Calaveras Boulevard, Highway 237, going upstream to Highway 680. That section of Berryessa Creek is referred to as the Upper Berryessa Creek project. That project is in the second year of construction. It's a joint project with the federal government, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and so the federal agency is a lead designer and also manager for construction. The Upper Berryessa Creek Flood Protection Project is scheduled for completion by December 2017. Immediately downstream of Highway 237 Calaveras Boulevard, going downstream to the confluence with what we refer to as the Lower Penitentiary Creek. So from the confluence with Lower Penitentiary Creek, going upstream to Highway 237 is referred to as the Lower Berryessa Creek project. The Lower Berryessa Creek project is designed and managed by the local funding provided to the Santa Clara Valley Water District. This is not related to the federal project, which I showed earlier upstream, which is the Upper Berryessa Creek project. Now, within the Lower Berryessa Creek project, from the confluence with Penitentiary Creek, going to about here, about Able Avenue, we refer to that as Lower Berryessa Creek Phase 1 project. Basically, we break the project into smaller ridges for easier design and construction. And so the Phase 1 Lower Berryessa Creek project from Penitentiary Creek to Able Avenue was just recently completed in December 2016. The upstream portion, the Phase 2 of Lower Berryessa Creek project from Able Avenue to Calaveras Boulevard is the section that we refer to as Lower Berryessa Creek Phase 2. And of course, the Edgewater Drive community is located along the downstream portion of the Phase 2 Lower Berryessa Creek project. And also part of the Lower Berryessa Creek project by the Water District, we also have flood protection project planned for a portion of two tributary creek, Calera Creek and also Tulacitos Creek. Together, these projects provide flood protection for about 2,400 parcels of homes, business, and school in the city of Milpitas. So just another map showing the delineation of the project alignment. What you see in front of you is just a quick recap of the number of meetings that we have had with your community since November of 2016. The last meeting that we had with the larger community was on January 30th. It was also in this same room. And then a week or two after that, our technical expert at the Water District met, I believe, with Mr. Chu and some of the representatives from your community to look into more detail and get more information from our in-house subject matter expert in the area of hydraulic and hydrology. So let me just quickly recap, because there may be some of you that are here today that weren't here in the last January meeting. So bear with me if the information is redundant or you have seen or heard it before. The cross-section in front of you shows the current design. The current design that has been approved, permitted, and is under construction. Construction started on this project last summer. What you see is what we refer to as a typical cross-section. So if we are, this cross-section is basically looking upstream as if the water is flowing toward you. So if we are looking upstream, the design showing the low flow channel is in the middle. On the left side, if you want to refer to it, it may be easier to refer to it as the hidden lake area. So hidden lake area would be on the left side, on the levee side. The design called for levee raising on the hidden lake area and construction of a 14-foot high flood wall near the curb of Edgewater Drive. So the house here represents a typical home along Edgewater Drive looking toward Berryessa Creek, and Edgewater Drive is right here. The proposed project is a levee raising on the hidden lake side is because number one, we do not have room to provide two levees for this creek and still provide the required flood protection conveyance for the community. So we only have enough room to raise one levee, and on one side we have to be a flood wall. Levee was selected on the hidden lake area is because the top of levee there's a trail, it's a top of levee road trail. It's a recreational trail by the city of Milpitas, and this is a continuous recreational trail for the city of Milpitas, and that is on the hidden lake area on the levee side. The proposed project here, the cross-section showed a flood wall, a low flow channel, a maintenance road so that the water district would have adequate room for crews and construction equipment to be in the channel to maintain the flood wall, to maintain the channel, and to have access in case we need to go in and remove vegetation, debris, fallen trees, or blockage in the channel. On the other bank, there is an area designated as riparian vegetation area. That's the area that trees and vegetation will be planted as part of the project to provide habitat for the wildlife in the creek, and it's also required as a mitigation measure. That's a term that Water Resources Agency use when you have construction, you have disturbance in creeks or aquatic habitat. The agencies usually they require you to compensate, to make up for the impact. And in this case, the disturbance or the impact is the habitats, the trees, the wildlife in the creek. And so planting of trees and vegetation in the creek is a mitigation measure required by the regulatory agency. Here is just a view looking from, so you can visualize with me, pretending you standing in front of your house along Edgewater Drive. You'll be looking at a wall on the other side of Edgewater Drive. The wall will be 14 feet high, and this rendering, it just shows the image that you would see from looking from Edgewater Drive. The option, one of the options that we presented to the community in January that we refer to as option number 1. This option involves pushing the 14-foot high wall. If you remember before, the wall was close to the curb of Edgewater Drive. This option basically involves pushing the wall 15 feet away from Edgewater Drive toward the creek. And the reason for that is to lessen the impact from looking at a flood wall. And in this case, the maximum that we can push the wall in toward the creek is about 15 feet and still maintain the room in the creek to convey the flood protection flow safely through the area. We also propose in this option on the land side of the flood wall that we would backfill the embankment with soil. And on the embankment field there, we would plant vegetation. Again, it's another measure to lessen impact, visual impact from looking at the flood wall. The top of the flood wall will have to be exposed to about 4 feet, and this is a safety measure because on the other side is a 14-foot drop. So we just don't want people to get on top of the embankment field, and then if there's no barrier here, they may accidentally fall onto the creek and hurt themselves. Now, to accommodate, you heard me mention that this option is to push the flood wall 15 feet away from the street toward the creek. That means the cross section, the area in the creek, will now be narrower by 15 feet. And in order to still accommodate the amount of flow required to provide flood protection, we have to reduce the width of the mitigation planting area by 15 feet. The width of the riparian planting area was about 50 feet in the current design. In order to accommodate the reduction of about 15 feet in the channel, this riparian planted area now will have to be 15 feet less. And we looked at the entire alignment, and we do have room upstream and downstream of the Edgewater area within the project limit to make up the deficit in planting from reducing the width of the mitigation planting. So there is available limited room in the project area to make up for the reduction in the planting should we choose to go, should it be feasible to go with this option. And here just another view standing from Edgewater Drive looking at the wall. And as you can visualize, it was a 14-foot wall before. And with this option, you would have an embankment on the land side of the wall, and the embankment will have shrub or vegetation planted to make it look like, give it the appearance of a levee. And you can see the 4-foot high exposed flood wall on top as a barrier to safety barrier. Now this section, this option is the new, no, this is not the new section, this is option 2 that I also presented to the community the last time. This option has a similar concept of pushing the 14-foot high flood wall closer 50 feet away from Edgewater Drive. So it's the same concept. We would also backfill the landside embankment with soil for planting of shrub and vegetation. Now, the difference here between this option and the previous one that I showed is that we would carry the embankment all the way near the top of the flood wall. So basically, you will see maybe 1 foot of the top of the flood wall exposed at the top. In order to have room to do that, we will need to have some retaining structure on the land side, because if we want to carry the slope all the way to the top of the flood wall, you need to have room down here to contain the slope. And so the proposal here is to have a shorter, maybe 5-foot high retaining structure so that we can hold back the soil, so that we can have enough room to backfill the soil all the way near the top of the slope of the 14-foot high flood wall. Now, because the embankment soil will be near the top of the flood wall, there's still that concern with safety. And so the proposal is for this option that we would put maybe a 4-foot tall chain link fence running on top of the flood wall just to prevent people from falling off. Again, the concept is on the other side of the flood wall, there is a 14-foot drop, and we just don't want people to fall off. The cross-section of the creek would be similar to option 1. We would have levee raising and a trail on the hidden lake area, and we will still have a riparian mitigation planted area reduced by 15 feet. So that's the main difference between the two concepts. Here is just a rendering of what option 2 would look like if you're standing from Edgewater Drive. Looking at, you would see a shorter, maybe 5-foot retaining wall at the toe, and you would see an embankment slope going up near the top of the flood wall, and you have a 4-foot tall chain link fence at the top. Again, the embankment field will have shrub and vegetation planted. When we presented the option in January with you, we received some more input. At least the feedback from that we can gather was that some people there that submitted comment, they would prefer the option 1. And if you remember, the option 1 is just pushing the wall in 15 feet and backfill the embankment with soil so that we have an embankment for planting of vegetation. No chain link fence at the top. So that was some of the feedback that we received. We also received a feedback near the end of the community, next to North Milpitas Drive, North Milpitas Boulevard. Some of the members of the community requested to see if we can establish a walking path from the community Edgewater Drive directly to North Milpitas Boulevard as a shortcut for people from the community in the Edgewater Drive area to get up and down of North Milpitas Boulevard. So those are the feedback that we received. We also received a number of other creative suggestions, and we have them listed here so that I can review with you. Again, we continue to hear the community asking us to look at way to not to do a flood wall, but to build a levee instead. So basically, it will be two levee system instead of a levee on one side and a flood wall. We heard another suggestion to look at way to lower the height of the flood wall. And we also heard a suggestion of using the vacant area of the HOA near the playground, near the south wall, at the end of the HOA area. Right now it's vacant, and consider using that as mitigation planting area. Use that to see if we can use that to substitute the mitigation planted area along Edgewater Drive so that we can lower the levee and the flood wall. Part of the comment about build a levee, I think one of the comments that we heard also is that if building a normal levee that we would prefer with a 2-to-1 slope, a 2 factor of horizontal distance to 1 vertical distance slope that we want. If that is not feasible, the comment asked us to see if we can do a steeper slope. So basically, a steeper slope would minimize the room that you would need to build a levee. And the comment also asked us to look at sediment removal and other measures so that we don't have to raise a levee or a flood wall, or build a flood wall. So with that, I'm going to quickly present to you the staff's evaluation of some of these recommendations, of some of these suggestions. Build a levee instead of a flood wall. We relooked at this option again, but unfortunately I have to report back to you the same thing that I reported in January, that we just do not have adequate room to build a safe levee for us in this area in order to build a levee with adequate slope and have features for maintenance access and still allow us room for mitigation planting area and adequate room to convey flood water. We will need to encroach onto Edgewater Drive. Edgewater Drive is about 40 feet. And if we want to build another levee, we will have to encroach 45 feet. Basically, we have to take away Edgewater Drive, and that is not a feasible option. Now, the suggestion was, Water District staff, why can't you steepen the slope? Instead of 2-to-1 slope, why can't you do 1-to-1 slope? So basically, it's a 45-degree slope embankment. And yes, we can. To build a 1-to-1 slope for a flood protection structure, yes, we can do it. The problem is that in order to make it feasible, we have to concrete line it. It will have to be both side embankment of the steep levee like that. We'll need to have a concrete line it. And number one, that is against the Water District policy of doing flood protection work and minimize impact to the environment. Number two, to propose such a levee structure, concrete levee structure like that in the channel, the chances of getting regulatory permits will be very little. So can we do it with 1.5-to-1 instead of 1-to-1 slope? Can you do it 1.5-to-1 slope? We still don't have enough room if we go to 1.5-to-1 slope. There is not enough room for us to build a levee with 1.5 to 1 slope and still have adequate room in the channel and all the features to make sure that we have adequate maintenance road for equipment to go in and to maintain the channel, to make sure that the creek can safely convey water. 1.5 to 1 slope will still require some kind of hardscape surface, meaning it would have to be concrete line as well. We may not have to do it on the back side, but on the water side, on the creek side, it will have to be concrete line. And it will not be feasible we don't have enough room, and the chance of it getting permit will be, again, very minimal because we are proposing a concrete hard surface structure in a natural creek environment. Looking at to lower the height of the flood wall, we went over the hydrology information, hydraulic design for the creek, based on the amount of flow projected for what we would refer to as the 100-year flow, which is a standard used by FEMA in order to require a certain area to purchase flood insurance. So our goal is to make sure that our flood protection project would be able to convey the 100-year flood flow so that the community will not be required to purchase flood insurance. So for this area, for the Berryessa Creek system, our hydraulic and hydrology subject matter expert and the Corps of Engineer determine the flow rate required for this area, and to accommodate the flow and to also provide what we call a freeboard, which is a safety factor that FEMA usually requires. If you have a flood wall or a levee to contain flood flow, they want us to overbuild the structure by 3 feet in terms of height. That 3-foot freeboard is a safety factor required by FEMA, and we must meet in order to convey the flow and to provide the 3-foot freeboard safety factor required by FEMA. Levee and flood wall in the Edgewater Drive area has to be 14 feet high, and we have confirmed that. And so we cannot lower the height of the flood wall or levee in this area. We looked into sediment removal and other measures, and the creek, we designed the creek based on natural hydrology and how creek flow. We refer to it as the science of that. We refer to it as geomorphology, and it's a science that look at allowing the creek to self-maintain, meaning to flow and to transport sediment naturally by using the flow in the creek. And if you excavate the certain area, you will upset the natural condition of the creek. In this case, if we just excavate deeper in the creek, what we'll create is just a backcut condition. Basically, it's a deep spot just for this area, and it will be occupied either right away by flow in the creek, or it will be an area where sediment will deposit right away. And so lowering the creek is not a feasible option. We look at the HOA park area as mitigation. The area is very small. It's probably about 0.1 acres. So it doesn't provide a lot of land surface that allow us to lower the height of the levee of the flood wall. In order to use the HOA vacant lot area, the flood wall alignment will have to be realigned. our maintenance road will be realigned and make it into a very sharp bend in the creek, which is not natural for a creek or a conveyance facility. And the bottom line is it's just too small, and it will not make a difference in lowering the height of the levee or flood wall in this area. So from the January 30th meeting, we heard feedback that the community wants a walking trail. They still want a walking path on the Edgewater Drive, and they want maybe a shortcut from the area to North Repeated Boulevard. So our staff look at it, and they think that it is feasible. So we look at option one that I presented earlier, that we refer to it as modified option one. So it has the same concept as option one, which is to push the flood wall 15 feet toward the creek. Now, this option, we would also backfill the land side of the flood wall with soil for planting of shrub and vegetation. The difference with the option one is that at the top, we will grade it so that we would have about a 4-foot wide walking path at the top. The flood wall, there will be about 4-foot high exposed flood wall on top for safety barrier again. But the difference is that we would have a 4-foot wide walking path at the top of the levee, of the soil embankment. Now, near the toe on the Edgewater Drive, because now we need to make room for that 4-foot wide walking path. That means we need horizontal room to accommodate for that. And we think that we can accomplish that in some location without the need of a retaining structure, but some location we may need a short retaining wall. But when I say short, I just want to make sure the other retaining wall that I showed for option 2 was about 5 feet high. So this one would probably be lower than that, probably about 2 feet, 2 feet or less. Here is just a rendering of what the modified option 1 would look like. There will be a walking path, 4-foot wide on top. At the toe, there will be a short retaining structure. Here's another rendering to show near the end of Edgewater Drive, near North Peters Boulevard, the comment that one or two community members suggested the last time was that Water District, can you look at to see if there's a path that we can, a community member can have a shortcut to walk to North Peters Boulevard. And so this rendering shows that, yeah, that is a narrow path that we can do. We can provide a stair set there that people can walk from the community up to North Peters Boulevard and can get up and down on the 4-foot wide walking path on top of the embankment levee that I showed for modified option 1. So what are we doing in the next step? The option that I show you, option 1, option 2, and the modified option 1, and the original design option. The original design. These options carry a number of impact to the project in terms of schedule, cost, and possible delay to providing protection for the community. Some of the major factors that may affect how we picked which option to move forward. I list them here. Schedule delay. In order to get the agency to review and approve a design change, This is a guesstimate. It will take 6 to 9 months at least. 6 and 9 months from the regulatory agency to review any design change for a project. There are uncertainty too, because once you submit a change request to the agency, they open the project, everything is fair game. They open the entire project and they can demand more mitigation. They can come up with reason to say that certain design change have more impact to the aquatic environment, to natural habitat, and they may require more mitigation. And more mitigation, we don't have room, any more room in the creek to plant and to provide mitigation. That means that you have to step outside of the project limit to go and buy land or buy mitigation credit somewhere that's not available. So I'm just mentioning these are complications that will have to be considered as we go through the evaluation of these options. The design change. So to submit a design change request to the agency, that means that construction will have to be halted. So if you are familiar with construction project, private or if not public works project, if you have a construction contractor on contract under construction and you tell them to stop, go work somewhere else and come back, next year maybe when we have permit from the agency, what that means is that they have to put their people, equipment, everything on standby, and that's cost. That's standby cost, delay cost. And next year, when you ask them to come back and build your project, they will ask for additional time. So that not just a delay cost, this year not to do the construction in this area, next year there will be delay cost for the delay time waiting for permit, and additional time for them to complete the work, the redesign or the design change. And that means money, that means additional cost, that means additional time, delay in completing the work of the Berryessa Creek system, that means delays to providing flood protection to the community. We were very lucky this year. For this watershed, for this area, the rainfall that we received in this area is very minimal. It's on the hydrologic scale. They refer to it as a 5-year event, not as some other area in the county, in San Jose or in Morgan Hill, where they received a lot more rainfall and floodings occurred. But this year, we were very lucky for this watershed, for this area. So delay to providing flood protection is a major concern for an agency like the Santa Clara Valley Water District and City of Peters. So we are now talking to our contractor. We are gathering information on the pro and cons of the option that I just presented you, including the regional design. Our plan is to present the risk, the cost, and the delay as we learn to our upper management in about a month time frame. So I am planning, I'm hoping that the team can be back in front of you in about a month and a half time frame to inform you which direction we will proceed forward with this flood protection project. In the meantime, what we have instructed the contractor to do is we ask them to restrained from finishing the flood wall in the Edgewater Drive area for now. And that they should mobilize and go upstream of North Peters Boulevard or not the flood wall area along Edgewater Drive. Do as much work as they can to give us more time to decide how we want to proceed in this area. So as far as construction activity, you should see minimal construction activity of the flood wall along Edgewater Drive in the next few weeks to a month. There are some what we call utility relocation activities downstream of the playground area, downstream of the flood wall area of your neighborhood. There are PG&E, AT&T utility underground. There's a Chevron gas line that need to be relocated so that the new bought line can operate safely. We are coordinated with Chevron as well as Ford to do that relocation of that underground gas line and the AT&T and UPRR utility in that area. So there are relocation activities, but it's further downstream of the flood wall. So hopefully you don't see as much. But definitely flood wall construction is halted for now in the next month or 2 months until we can be back, until I get further discussion with my upper management, and I can be back in front of you in a month and a half time frame to inform you which direction we are going. With that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Kristen again to continue with the meeting.
All right, thank you, Nog. So that concludes our formal presentation. Thank you for being respectful and listening through all those slides. I know it was a lot of information, but now is the time. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and Jose will come to you with the microphone so our project team can answer your questions. So do we have any questions to start?
So, Kristen, I want to make a comment. So,
If you could just use the microphone, it might be easier.
Sure. I probably need 10 minutes to go over the slides and making comments on each slides. It's going to be very difficult, like what we had last time. Each person can ask one question at a time or make a comment. So I can wait until later time. Right now it's 7:52. We still have 40 minutes. But I really need a block time, a time block.
Okay, okay, so it sounds like you want a 10-minute time block. All right, so we'll take a few more questions. I'll keep an eye on the clock for you. Does anyone else have any other questions? Please raise your hand.
It's more of a comment, which is I prefer that one, if we were to have one.
Could you specify which one you're referring to?
Well, it's the one with no retaining wall and just a hill and then a fence at the top.
Option 1.
The original option one.
Well, what is that one called?
That's the original design where it's just the flood wall.
Okay, so the original option 1 is my preference, but any of these are an improvement over that, over the original one. The second thing I would say is we wanted two things. We wanted stairs up to the overpass, not just because we wanted easy access to Peters Boulevard, but if we no longer have access to a walking path on our side, then we wanted easier access to the one that's going to be across the creek, rather than having to walk a block the other direction, then a block up the hill. So it's, you know, the way it was presented was like, oh, we just want an easy way to get onto the overpass, but it's we want access to that walking path. And the last thing I would say is this idea that we wanted a walking path at the top of the hill was so that we could admire the stream and the creek. If we're climbing up to have a walking path at the top of the hill, and all there is a 4-foot wall or 5-foot wall, and you have to be 5 feet, because 4 feet people can climb on really easy, and then that's dangerous. So that one with the walking path on that side doesn't really make sense, unless maybe it could be replaced with the screen fence, because when I would walk on the top of the levee, it was so I could admire the stream and the birds and the stuff going on and see the other side. I don't need to climb up a hill to walk along a wall. So that would be a suggestion I would have for that one, if that's a possibility. And those are the things I would like to say. Then I would like to ask, I just want to make sure, because Naki made a lot of comments at the end about how it would delay the process and will put us at risk of a flood control. And I don't know what you're talking about, the rain, because boy, did it rain. And I went out the day after the rain when all of San Jose was flooded, and it was barely to the bottom of the lowest of the channels. So I was very comfortable that we were not at risk. And I don't know what you're saying, that it rained only in San Jose and it didn't rain here, because it sure rained here. So I'm not as concerned as you wanted to make it scare everybody into thinking that, oh, we got to really worry about flood control. The only time we had a flood problem in the 18 years I've lived here was when you guys took down that hill. So I just think you put a little too much emphasis on that. And the other part, you kept saying it's going to cost more time and more money and all that, and that's true. But from the get-go, you really didn't involve the community. It wasn't clear what you were doing. We expressed that sentiment at the meeting in January, or maybe it was November, but so if there's a delay in the actual cost and all those things, that's really your concern. That's not our concern. Our concern is that our property values don't go down, that our standard of living don't go down. So if there's a 9-month delay to ensure that that's the case, for me personally, I think that's very worthwhile. So that's a big concern for you. It's less of a concern for me. Does that make sense? You're stating that's a concern for everybody, but it's really a concern for the water district. The extra cost, the extra time, that's your problem that you have to deal with. But it's in part because you didn't start this project correctly from the get-go, and suddenly we're going to have this monstrous wall next to our development. So anyway, I just want to say that. And the last thing I wanted to ask is it definitely still, these are all definitely, because the rumor I heard is that these were all, that had been rejected already by the Fish and Wildlife or whatever, that these other options were rejected. That was the rumor that I was hearing. Are you saying that that's not true, and these are all still on the table?
Water Quality Board doesn't like the design. Doesn't like either option 1 or option 2.
Which one?
Water Quality Board does not like either option 1 or option 2.
So I'm going to pass that over to Knock, just to clarify the information. I do also want to point out that Kevin here is just taking some written notes for us to capture your comments, and we are also video recording this meeting as well. So I just want you to know that your many comments are being recorded.
So I just don't want to put out any false information. I deal with the regulatory agency on a daily basis on a number of projects, and I can assure you I haven't submitted any information on design change on this project to the agency. So I don't know where you have the information that the agency have rejected or have reviewed. I haven't signed the application, I haven't submitted any plans to them. So that's all I can tell you.
So it's May, and all these designs, nothing's been done with them? What do you mean that nothing, that you haven't presented to anybody?
Since November, when we started working and getting feedback, all we've been doing is look at our construction plan and redesign. And it takes time.
It's been around for a while now,
Since-
not that one.
Well,
Those.
yes, since January, when we presented to you.
January, February, March, April.
Do you know how thick our construction drawings are?
Sure.
I mean, I'm not trying
We're talking
to,
about a 9-month delay, that's 4 months already.
I'm not trying to marginalize the work that the water district staff has been doing. It's very hard work. If you see the number of drawings that they have to carefully make changes before they can get approved by the agency. And then once after that, they have to give that to the contractor so that the contractor can study and give you an estimate of time and cost. It's not like we're dealing with 1 or 2 drawings of a bathroom remodeling. I wish that it could be that simple. You're dealing with 6,000 feet of creek along this area. It's 1,600 feet on each side. There's a number of drawings, details, engineering detail requirements that need to be made, and it takes time. Unfortunately, it takes time. And we just finally finished making the changes on the drawings as recently as a week or two ago. So a lot of work has been going on behind the scene, and I just want the community to hear and to appreciate that.
Thank you, Knock. So if we have any other questions, please raise your hand. Okay, did you want to wait a few more, see if we can take a few more questions before we hand?
There are some importance to go over the information I have. So,
Okay, I just see one question hand up behind you. If we
No,
can
I
just,
can let Darren go first. I can wait. My question is next, yeah. So actually, my question is this, right? We all agree that can go first.
okay, do we have any agreement amongst the group? I just want to make sure we're not overstepping. Okay, I see some nods in the room. Okay, so if you'd like to.
So, and since this project is started, all the communication to the neighborhood up until November 18th, or up until, I downloaded all the meeting notice from Water District website. The wall was communicated as 9.5 feet tall, as late as July 2016. The 14 feet wall was verbally communicated to the community in November 2016 and was officially written, the 14 feet wall above the adjacent ground from Able Street to Beresford Boulevard, March 17, 2017, about less than 2 months ago, in written confirmation. And the EIR passed in 2011 clearly stated the flat wall for the entire Lower Berryessa section from Able Street to Calaveras Boulevard is 5 to 8 feet above the adjacent ground. So I got a confirmation from State Department, State Government Office of Planning and Research. According to the changes made in this design, the Water District should supplement the EIR subject to the CEQA guideline 15163, dated March 27, 2017. And also for the option 1, option 2 presented to the community in January, I also had a phone call, numerous phone call between with the State Water Quality Board and also Department of Fish and Wildlife. So in the Stream Bay Alteration Agreement, Water District attend in 2014 was clearly stated the flat wall is designed for 6 to 9 feet. That was as of 2014. And the Water Quality Board clearly told me Water District did communicated the modified design verbally, and they don't like the design. They consider if we can push the wall toward the creek by 15 feet, then certainly it can be considered to lower the wall because there's more channel capacity if we keep the wall in the same place, original place. So that's the form upfront and everything, the first thing, everything that Water District need to supplement the EIR per the CEQA requirement. That's a state law. It doesn't matter if you're going to delay the design, delay the project or whatnot. It is the law was designed to protect the people. And there's a law that everybody should follow, should obey. Can we go back to the other slide really quick?
Mr. Chair, I just want to, do you want to respond to that?
So again, can we finish
Okay.
everything? So I still have 6 minutes. Can we go back to the first slide? Sorry, the slide with the upper Berryessa and lower Berryessa. So in the meeting I had with Water District staff, along with Mike, along with Ray, along with another neighbor. Yes, and also with Yonghua, with James, with Kristen in February. we clearly share the information that the peak flow, that output flow of the upper Berryessa was using 4,100 cubic feet per second, and lower Berryessa is using 4,990, nearly close to 5,000, and some other documentation I see 5,100 cubic feet per second as the 1% chance peak flow. There's a 25% discrepancy between the upper Berryessa design and lower Berryessa design. So that is something yet to be cleared. I'm in touch with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineering to clarify whether 4,100 cubic feet per second is up to 100-year flood protection. Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moon. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, thank you. So, as we talked about earlier, 9-feet flood wall was communicated all the way. Only written confirmation until March 17, 2017. I want to have a question regarding the riparian strip vegetation. That riparian strip was clearly stated in EIR. That is the mitigation for the trees being removed from the levee. And Department of Fish and Wildlife requires double the number of trees planted. Anywhere else, well, water district decided to use the riparian strip. But here we're seeing grasses. They're supposed to be trees. There will be trees.
Just dry.
But drawing, again, is a very deceiving.
It's a combination of arroyo, sandbar, and red willow that will be planted.
Thank you, James. So thank you for confirmation that will be trees. So for February 21st and February 22nd, San Jose flooding, everybody going back to review the reason why and what could be done better. Until today, until sometime, I don't know whether still it's unclear whose responsibility to clear the vegetation in the creek to allow more water to pass through to avoid the flooding. So for this riparian strip, designed as of now, 2.1 mile, 50 feet wide, literally 1/3 of creek channel, full of trees. Imagine 20 years, 30 years down the road when trees grow bigger and bigger. It's going to be flood hazard. The trees in the creek will slow down the water, will causing more sediment, causing more debris, causing more fallen leaves, dead branches, whatnot. And this is a huge maintenance cost for this riparian stream. Again, right now showing grass, but there will be trees. Double the amount the trees removed from the levee today, and also elsewhere. Can I move down to the next slide? Keep going down, thank you. So, this is the slides we're talking about, pushing the wall toward the creek by 15 feet. If we can, again, it's just for the sake of argument. You can keep the wall in the same place, we can lower the wall. That's not an issue. So, here's the drawing I have. Maybe not everybody can see it clearly. Again, the drawing there, the rendering there, it also has a disclaimer, not up to scale. This picture here also has a disclaimer, not up to scale. So let me show people, everybody, the up to scale. This is the information. Thank you for James, again, thank you for Yonghang, to confirm all the on scale, clear, very, very accurate scale. The levee on the north bank going to be 74 feet wide. Riparian street will be 50 feet wide. Creek channel will be 30 feet wide, and plus 18 feet of the maintenance road. So 74, 50, 48. So now the north bank has a very strong levee, 14 feet tall, 74 feet wide. And on the south bank, we only have a flat wall. So the whole entire creek being shifted toward the south bank. And having a strong levee on the north, the flat wall has to endure all the pressures. Well, compared to 74 levee, consider it's no way to break it. And flat wall going to be, if we compare, I would consider a huge consideration, concerns that it will be a breach point. And certainly the Milpitas Boulevard, 12 feet tall, again, the head wall over there will be a potential breach point. Can we move on to the next slide? Thank you. Next. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Yes. So since November 18, 2016, we first time brought up the CEQA requirement, the difference between the current design versus the whatever being approved and adopted AEIR back in 2011. It's been 6 months. It's been 6 months. There are plenty of time to supplement the EIR, and there's plenty of time to acquire the new streetback alteration agreement, at least to match the current design. Whatever, consider current design is not original design. Current design is a modified design from the EIR. Again, when there's a law, there's a California law, state law, there to protect the people. And also from something missed in the process. So we have a chance to voice our concerns. So by the way, so thank you, Christine, for sending the comment. Some answers for some questions I raised. One is about the 18 feet maintenance road on both ends of on both ends. North side on top of the levee and south side, 6 feet tall and next to the flood wall. The 18 feet maintenance road considered excess, meaning considered more than necessary. Right this afternoon, before I come to the meeting, I went to the temporary levee. The road is literally less than 11 feet. And I see the excavator going up and down, going south and north and pulling the huge pipe from Able Street all the way to Milpitas Boulevard every morning. And I see no problem that excavator being running on that. There's no concern. It can turn around, can go back, and can go forth. So I would say thank you for the comments, but certainly I still have a question regarding why we need 18 feet. 11 feet is more than sufficient. 12 feet would be good. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So there were a lot of questions and comments in there. I just want to consult very quickly to see if we can respond.
I can just to provide some more information quickly to what Mr. Chu said, and I took some notes, so I could be missing some, but I'll try my best. So if I can go in the reverse direction, maybe it's easier to understand. He mentioned the need for a maintenance road, 11 feet. I'm sorry, I worked for the Flood Protection Agency for 27 years, and 18 feet is our standard to have heavy construction equipment to maintain our creeks. Once you build a structure, it's not like you have an open creek where during construction that you see that as an example, when a construction crew can freely move up and down without any constraint. Imagine you have a flood wall. All of a sudden, one side of your vehicle is blocked. You have a maintenance road that is can be used as a trail as well. Some location is multi-purpose. It could be maintenance road or trail as well. But once you build a facility, there's certain care that you need to do. You cannot just roam freely. Some of our heavy construction equipment have extender so that they can reach. Imagine you have to reach 20 feet And in some cases, if we don't have a ramp to go into the middle low flow channel to remove a fallen trees, we may have to bring a crane. You cannot send people doing manual labor into the middle of the creek during the wet season to remove trees. Sometimes you have to put a heavy crane in there. Imagine to send a crane in there. It will require more than 80 feet with all the extender of the leg of a crane. We are a flood protection agency, and when I say that I need 18 feet, when my maintenance crew and supervisor said, no, for the channel width, this wide, and the type of environment for you to have in this area, I need a minimum 18 feet. And I'm just an office guy. I'm not going to be out there arguing against my supervisor who has 10, 20 years experience using construction equipment, maintaining creek, providing flood protection for the community. Okay. I want to touch on the question about the state law of CEQA. Mr. Chu continued to have disagreement with us on how the environmental document that we call the EIR, Environmental Impact Report, was written. And we continue to have disagreement there. And I'm not in a position to comment his personal discussion with all the people about his interpretation of the EIR. And so we will continue to have disagreement there. So I'm not saying he's wrong or I'm right, but I'm not in a position to comment his discussion with all the people that at the CEQA office or state clearinghouse or the subject matter expert that Mr. Chu consulted with. But I continue to stand behind the work product that was put out by the Water District. Now, Mr. Chu also mentioned that he talked with the regulatory agency about the options. And I mentioned earlier, I haven't submitted any documentation, a request for permit amendment to the agency. So again, I cannot comment on his discussion with the regulatory agency staff. Mr. Chu mentioned about the area in the creek that we designate mitigation planting area. If you look at our construction drawings, the contract that we let out with the contractor, you will see what James confirmed, not on the drawing, that the construction contract called for trees of different species and shrub, different type of vegetation, including trees in the mitigation planting area, and that's in our construction drawings. Mr. Chu asked about responsibility for removing vegetation, and he made a comparison to City of San Jose flooding. I just want to draw a distinction, and maybe if you are familiar with public works projects, like some of us do, especially in creek and flood protection facility, not every creeks are the same. The reason I say that is that in this case, this would be considered a flood protection facility because it is designed for a certain purpose, for a certain standard of flow and a certain standard of care and maintenance requirements. In this case, the creek section has been designed to exclude a section of the creek where we plant trees. So our hydrologists, when they have their hydraulic modeling of the channel height, the channel cross-section, the levee height, the flood wall height, they block out the area that we designate for trees and vegetation in the creek. That means that even though the creek's cross-section show I don't know what exactly it is. I'm just giving an example for you to compare. I'm just giving an example. You know, for example, if the cross-section show 100 feet wide creek, 35 feet of it is for vegetation planting. Our hydraulic modeling, we don't model the entire 100-foot width for flow. We model 100 feet minus 35 feet of vegetation, meaning we only account for 65 feet, the net area available for flow. So once the channel is designed and built and considered a flood protection facility, we have the permit and the right to go in there and to maintain it. Our responsibility is to maintain what we build. Now, we can do a good job designing and building it and walk away, like Mr. Chu said, 20 years, trees will grow. If we don't maintain it, it will jump up the channel. What I'm trying to explain to you is that in this case, when we design a channel with trees like this, we block out the area of trees and we don't count it for flow to make sure that the channel with trees, mature trees, are adequate for conveyance. The distinction I want to draw between the contrast with City of San Jose Coyote Creek section that you have read or seen in the news, that section is still considered natural, meaning the water district doesn't have money to go in there and provide the improvement for that community yet. That community is screaming right now at the City of San Jose, at the Water District, and the Corps of Engineers, come, improve our creek, widen the creek, provide flood protection for our community along Coyote Creek. That project is on the long list, waiting for funding. It's on the list to be done by the Water District. Unfortunately, we do not have funding at this time to improve that Coyote Creek section. That section is still considered a natural creek, meaning there is no standard. There is no level of care to go in and to remove the vegetation or widen the creek. The question the agency asks is, how much tree are you going to remove? What is it providing? What level of flood protection? In this facility, because it's designed, it has been calculated, we have documentation showing the proposed conveyance flow, the proposed flood protection, and it gives us the right, and the agency will have to give us permission to maintain the creek. Whereas for Coyote Creek, the section that got flooded, it's still natural setting. No modification has been made yet to that creek, and there is no maintenance baseline or requirement. And the Water District doesn't own the right of way there. So there are a number of factors associated with that. So it's not as simple, and I don't want you to trivialize the work that we do, but flood protection, levee, and flood wall look simple, but it's a complex issue. And I think that's all the note I had.
All right, thank you, Nog. I see a hand up over here in the back.
Yeah, actually I get a little bit confused. I think it's a simple question, right? So are you going to maintain those trees? So 20 years dead tree, are the Water District going to remove those trees? I think you answered like all those things, but like this is a simple one.
Yes.
Okay.
I mentioned the trees and the vegetation that we put there. We don't count them for the flow area. We excluded them.
But
So
are you going to remove the dead tree?
no, the trees are meant to be there unless trees grow outside of that area.
If the tree gets dead, are you going to remove the dead tree?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if it's a modified channel, if it's a channel that has been improved and has a level of flood protection design, we then have the permission, the right to go in there and remove it to provide flood protection. We need to maintain what we built.
All right, thank you very much. So, okay, I see a few hands up. I just want to keep an eye on the time. It looks like we have about 5 minutes left until 8:30. So I'll take the 3 here and then we will wrap up.
I just want to know, like, none of these options means anything because you haven't submitted to the, for approval yet. I mean, we just see pictures.
Well, again, in order for the agency to consider a design change request, they need to see the whole set of construction drawing. Like conceptual sketches like this, they would just, they will not consider it. So they need to see detailed design drawings showing calculation area for creek corridor, area for mitigation planting. So they need to see detailed drawing, a set of drawings, and you have how many sheets in the construction drawing? So it's more than 150 sheets of construction drawings. Now, granted, we don't have to modify 150 sheets because we're just dealing with 1,600 feet of the Edgewater Drive. So you can see at least 50 sheets of drawings. Okay? So our approach is everyone is busy, including the regulatory agency. We need to develop the concept, the options, where we think the option would best fit the need of the water district, providing flood protection for the community with feedback then from the community to see which option would best meet everyone's interest. And then we would develop the detailed drawings, design changes, so that we can have a set of revised drawing, revised design that we can use as the basis for requesting approval from the agency, and we can use it as a basis for working with the contractor to evaluate the potential delay time, the potential additional cost that will result from whichever option we pick. So it's not just a simple 1 or 2 page concept sketches.
Thank you. Okay, we had the other 2 questions over here.
Yes, to echo what, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. Sonia. We've actually lived in this neighborhood for almost 25 years now, and as Sonia said, the only time we've ever had any flooding or anything close to flooding was when you guys took the levee out. Even all, and you're saying this year, that it didn't rain that much. It rained a lot, and still the water level was nowhere near flooding levels. And you're comparing us to the Caddy Creek. Caddy Creek is fed by the watershed from Lake Anderson, very large watershed, and so you're comparing apples and oranges there. But if you do look at the fact that the trees and the debris in the channel causing issues there, you're bringing up the same thing here. You were talking about by removing when you're planting the trees and then that area not being included as part of the channel, that tells us that if you didn't have the quantity of trees in there, you could actually increase the capacity of the channel and again then lower the flood wall. So and so you add that to, you were talking about the slope of the levee. We talked about going 1-to-1 or 1.5-to-1 instead of the 2-to-1. Used to be 2-to-1. Again, we're talking about little changes here and there to be able to accommodate. And it seems like you're taking one at a time and saying, okay, this one, no, it's not going to work because of this. This one, no, it's not going to work because of this. But we haven't seen enough of where you've taken the big picture and shown us why something wouldn't work if you did everything, all these little things we're suggesting. It sounds like you're just shooting it down one at a time. And it's taken, this is a 5-month process, almost 6 months now. We've been going back and forth since November on this whole thing. You're talking about delays in the process versus, here it's taken us 6 months for you to come up with something that's showing us that you've really, looked at all the suggestions we've given you. seems like all the suggestions we've given you, you're just shooting them down one at a time. So we need to look at cutting back on the trees in the channel, which would give us that additional capacity to hopefully be able to then lower the wall and actually be able to go, instead of if we're able to lower it, then that would actually allow us to be able to go to steeper sides and put a two-levee design that you can get. So have you guys worked out, you didn't show anything that said that you've actually considered all those recommendations and tried to see what the result will be.
Okay, so another hand up over here on this side.
Sonia, you have another?
Well, sort of the same thing about the trees. Will you also be maintaining those bushes, or does that become part of the association's responsibility?
Which bushes?
Um,
On the battlefield? Anything that we built on the district right away will become the district responsibility to maintain. We don't build outside of right away that we don't own. We don't spend public dollars on private property. So whatever we propose to build, it will have to be on the footprint that we have either easement or the right of way in fee title to use it.
Yeah.
We just don't go.
You will maintain it, is what you're saying, yes.
All right, well, we are at the 8:30 mark. I want to thank all of you for coming tonight, and just to reiterate the next steps, that our team is going to be looking at the evaluation of these different items, and we will follow up with you. We're hoping within a month or two to come back and discuss, which direction we're going in. I see another hand up, and I just want to say.
Another question, I just want to make one comment. Because I think your rule is like when you guys are talking, we cannot talk, which is fair. And I think the information we presented, like the last few meetings, it's more or less similar. But and the lead time is 1.5 hours. So in theory, you can use whatever time and we leave whatever. So can we like have another law says how much time you will schedule and how much time we can do the Q&A, so that we don't like end of the time. For example, he made the comments never get the answer, right? Because you run out of time. So if you keep that law, then in theory you can use 1.5 hours and we can finish the meeting.
One week.
Well, our team is going to be here afterward. We can continue the conversation. We have the display boards up here as well. But I do want to say that we, unfortunately, just logistically, we only have the room until 9 o'clock, I believe. We have to get everything cleaned up and be out of the room. So,
can we next time?
okay, I'll take that suggestion for structuring the meeting.
Half.
Okay, if there's a certain amount of time that you prefer for Q&A, we can definitely improve the next meeting with that feedback. So we have that captured.
We can offer a workshop if you prefer us not to talk, and you prefer to have a room where we sit down together and we have an exchange. We can do that. I mean, the meeting tonight was set up differently, so I don't want you to have the impression that we try to restrict your talking. But if you would like a workshop where we gather around and we sit and we talk together, I mean, that I'm open to that.
I am just curious, because we listened to a lot of the stuff that we already knew, but is there somebody here that benefited from listening to a half hour of all the same stuff again? So I sat politely, as you said, and didn't say anything, but the whole time I'm like, yeah, I've already heard this. So that's another way we could save some time in meetings.
Okay, we're taking your feedback in to improve the next meeting.
Can I just have a quick question, because you said you haven't submitted any of the drawings to agencies. Now, what happens if any of the drawings that you propose, they decline? Then what happens then after that? You come back and then do we get that big wall, or are you still going to come back with new options, or because?
We will only submit one design change.
Okay.
So we will determine which option, which option to proceed. The water district then will decide which option, if we pick any option to proceed.
Okay, what if they say, we don't like the option because of time, because of the money, then what?
we revert back to the original design.
So the wall.
Yes.
So it's-
Yep.
So that's new information. You're only submitting one.
Correct.
So I don't know for show of hands, if we should indicate which of these three we prefer?
No.
No?
I don't like.
I know you don't like any of them, but if they're gonna move forward, why do they get to pick which one they like? Why don't we get to pick which one? At least they should hear which one they
Because
like.
if we tell them, then they're gonna go with that, and they're not gonna listen to any more things we bring back. Because they haven't presented a design that meets the needs. They've come up with compromises that do not meet the needs of the community. And they're not listening to the community and us telling you that. Did I sum that up?
Yes.
Thank you, Doug.
I know there's differing opinions in the room, so I just want to say that if you do have a preference or have something that you'd like captured in the feedback, you're welcome to email me directly. My contact information is included on the next slide, as well as all of the materials. And we can be sure to incorporate any feedback that we receive in a written form as well. But I'm hearing that we can improve on our meeting format for the next meeting we're planning in a month or two, and so we're taking that into consideration now. Again, I do want to say that our project team is all here. We can speak with you and answer any of the additional questions in more depth. We have the display boards here as well, so we have a few more minutes. Oh, I see one more hand over here, and that will really be the last one for tonight.
Can you move up one slide up?
Backward or forward?
Backward. No, down. One more. One up. No. Go backward. Forward. Sorry, forward. One more. Okay, stop. Okay, now, the question about the cost of the remove the sidewall. So, the district will pay for that one?
Pay the remover. I didn't put it back.
A portion of the sidewall will have to be removed so that we can build the improvement for flood protection. And the current proposal right now is for the water district to pick up the tab on the demolition of a portion of that sidewall.
You mean the 9 pieces, right?
There is a portion that we will remove, yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much for all of this feedback and for listening to the new information tonight. Like I said, our team will be here to speak with you individually. And we have some additional materials on the tables, and please be sure to sign in before you leave. But we will follow up with you in a month or two with any new information. Thank you very much.